Hi everyone, how are you? Today we're going to talk about something really important, and that is the topic of special education and counseling in school. So special education and counseling are really important two topics, okay, that we'll talk about in the school setting. Before I talked more about career counseling, which is really important in general. This is a kind of introduction so that we'll focus on the main topics. It comes in the form of elementary and middle school, high school obviously, but it's much more smooth or it's much more decisive in high school. It's obviously a very important objective. However, there are more career and other objectives like final exams, preparing for the real world, making the student dependent rather than in middle school. Okay, so in middle school, it's kind of like the development base for the high school in the world, basically. That's why these issues come up. It's not as extensive, obviously, as in elementary school, where it's really important, especially for issues of special education, which is important, right? In elementary. In elementary, usually it's specific. It's really rare in middle school you have such issues that come up, really rare. Okay, it's mainly in the young years. So 2.5 years old and above, that's where it comes in. However, afterwards, it may come up for different reasons, exceptional reasons, but it's highly exceptional. This is really important for counseling and also for middle school and for elementary. Okay, so middle school and elementary, it's a vital kind of characteristic to have, and a kind of small maybe entity in the nursery or in the elementary, obviously in the middle school, to have counseling in general. This is different than special education. So today we're going to talk about both. For special education, for sure. However, people have stigma from it. This is really important. This is an important point. Okay, this is a really important point because people may believe that the parents are too much, that they're in denial, or opposite, that they're right, they're in denial, or okay, in the sense of if they don't accept, or they may have a kind of issue with the stigma, which is wrong, right? We don't want to go into this. However, the important point here is that the stigma is wrong. Okay, so basically, it's the role of obviously the clinic, the setting, the educational school or institution to have that out. Okay, so it's a more of a fun place to be in. It's a fun place to be in. Okay, whatever the population is. That's the objective really in school. Okay, it's to have a fun place. If it's for counseling in general, so here it's not counseling that we're going to a doctor or we're going to the hospital or we're going to the teacher that's really mean and strict, or we're going to the principal's office that's really scary, or we're going. It's like the principal. Okay, there are principal offices that are amazing. People love to go and students love to go to, and they love them and they hug them and everything else. Others no. Here's some more black and white, and that's true in the theoretical level. Okay. However, we're here more the in general, just to introduce the topic, and for teachers and populations and people that are not aware of it, for them to be aware of it in that sense. Okay. So obviously in the real world it's really different. Here we're in the theory level or introducing the topic, which is different than the real world. In the real world, each one has a different case. Okay. We just want to be simple and straight here in the sense of, well, the main objective is for people to be comfortable with it. If they don't feel comfortable and there's something wrong, obviously in all aspects, they have to be comfortable and there is no stigma. This is really important. It's really important for the school to have a very, very nice and welcoming environment in it, to have such entities. If they have violence, if they have different kinds of abusive characters, then it won't. Okay? It won't be successful. And also, we don't want an entity that has such an environment, and then afterwards you have an environment, you have an environment that's that's really you know you have the environment that's really friendly to you, that it's doing the work for all. That's not also what we want. Okay, that's really important. Okay, Okay, we want an entity that is there friendly and it's part of the school, yes, but it's not the school, and it's not the school, and also has its own autonomous place, right? Does that make sense? Yes, this is important for a teacher, for the environment, for the counselor, for everyone to know, and the principal and everyone in that sense, right? Okay, and the students. So also, yeah, they don't have to think about the class. Okay, they go into another world. That's really nice for them to go and have fun. Maybe read a book, get something. Maybe they have something in the counseling office. Okay, this is nice. Okay, it depends on the school, but it's a nice school. It's nice to have that in school in theoretical level. Obviously, you have a different world where the school is really maybe tight on funding. Maybe it's a different environment where it kind of have a, it has a strict mode. Okay, that's important. Okay, it has the strict mode of it's strict for the culture, for the environment. That's different. However, does that we make a stigma? No, that's the main point. Okay, so if we don't make a stigma, um, should we be friendly and do the work of all? No, it's more of like it depends on the school, but in general, whatever, even if you're in the strict culture, you have to have this entity autonomous, and it's the counselor's role to decide how it is. Okay, and they have this autonomous character and style. They have to be also comfortable. This is important. You can't be stressing or having all the stress on the counselor or on the institute itself or on the which is the important students. Okay, it's not the doctor, it's not the hospital, it's not the teacher, it's not the principal, it's not the parent, it's the place where they what's it called um it's the place where they want to see themselves in it. Okay, obviously it's not PE and it's not playing basketball, and it's a different place. Okay, let's put it that way, especially for elementary and middle school years. For high school years, you can be a little bit strict and more responsible in talking to them, obviously, and being directive more. It depends also on the culture. Some cultures know they're pretty free and they know exactly what they want. They come in and, it's a different world where you have maybe a library, maybe you have a place where they sit and watch. It depends, okay? So this is really important because you have to kind of um, you know know the culture and the environment of the school, the objectives of the school, the neighborhood you're in, the city you're in, the culture, and also the students. Okay, you have all of these together. This is for counseling in general. As for special education, it's really important for the counselor to know the different students that do have it and their files obviously given, as well as it's really important for them to have excellent connections with them and with their parents and with their teachers and schedules and everything you can think about. This is really important. As for the other ones that may have question marks or characteristics or possible possibilities, that's a different story. Obviously, they're in the first district population we'll talk about, which is counseling. And so you can't put them in special education population except if through the um, uh, through the um, uh, through the program of whatever program. Maybe the school has a certain program by itself, obviously, and then you have obviously the responsibility of the counselor to make the school aware of the culture they're in. It may be they have to refer to a certain psychologist. It may be they have to refer to a certain organization, or if there's no certain strict law or anything else, or a diagnostic set or whatever the set is. It may have to do with the accreditation they have. It may have to do objective wise. It may have to do with the parents' or demands. We don't know. Maybe the parents they have a certain culture or doctor or a certain kind, not doctor, but I don't know, a certain kind of culture, and that's really important. This all comes in. Obviously, elementary and middle school, it's much more easier, and in middle school, it's actually harder to define the lines because we said elementary, it's straight there. Okay, elementary goes up to fifth grade where it goes away. Okay, after actually 3 years old, this world of special education is pretty much there, except for characteristics or possible different life events or whatever comes up. But after 3 years old, 4 years old, usually the parents know. Okay, and if the parents they don't have they don't have a kind of you know, if they're in denial, that's different, right? If they know they have history, maybe they have files or history they don't want to talk about. Okay, that's also there. That's part of your role and that's part of the work, or that's part of the role of counselor and everything else. Okay, and that goes back obviously the privacy of the counseling office and the principal and for the parents. Okay, this is really important because it can be complicated, but let's make it straightforward in the sense of the school has to have this integral entity. It's out of the responsibility of the teacher and of the school itself, except obviously for the managerial levels or people who are responsible of the student, okay, in the school. If the school doesn't have such a system of counseling and special education, then it's very hard for it to cope and keep up with it. Okay, it's really hard. Okay, it's really important. Some schools they do for that. Okay, they don't like for any reason. Okay, and that's really important. Okay, so you have that. The counseling office is really important, and it's an important entity to have basically in the school. When you have it in the school, it's not only in that what we started with. Okay, what I started with is something important, which some even with the nice and environment, people do have stigma from. This is really important to keep in mind when you talk with parents or students who are in denial or not in denial. Maybe they're scared and you can't do anything with it. Okay, you if you know this is really important. It's different than after you discover that the parents are taking responsibility or they're busy or that's different. Okay, or for example maybe the students are really straightforward, okay, and they're really maybe scary or opposite, they're not taking their responsibilities for different reasons, or usually goes back to the house, especially elementary and middle school. High school is different. The student takes their own character. However, in elementary and middle school, the parent is a big part. In many cultures, it's the part really you're talking about here. In other cultures, no. From elementary, they may be more independent. Okay, so basically, so basically here, this is the role of uh, the school. There has to be excellent communication, obviously, between the counselor, the teachers involved, if there's a psychologist, if there is a mentor, if there's a social worker, if there are different kinds of entities in the school, whatever school institution it is, or the clinic, or whatever it is, maybe the academic, I don't know, institution or whatever, then that's important. Okay. This is also important. However, what's important here to stress about is that the counseling and the special education entities are important in any school. In the university, the same thing. Okay, usually, obviously, in the university, high school, and middle school, it should be a development stage for higher development stage, which is everything before was done uh, for the students that are coming in. Okay, so elementary school that have to be done. And scientifically speaking, and in special education world, it's maximum 4 years old. That the characteristics 2.5 that's shown, but the whole process where the parents go into society and the interaction with the culture, interaction with the scientific, or the medical world or the special education world or psychology or psychologist, or to have the diagnosis and to assessment and everything else and to go into the therapy and so forth, whatever reason there are, it got delayed, that's different, or it was not discovered. Usually that's the language. 90%. 10% is different. Okay, especially that it's complicated. But for practical purposes of the counseling world and for the school and everything else, 4 years old. 4 years old, it should have that. Okay, so that should be there. Is it the full time? issue of the counselor nursery? No. Or the elementary? No, it's not. It's not. This is really important. It's not. There are other roles and activities that they have, and obviously it's not a they're not a full-time therapist for special education. It's a counseling, so it's everything. Okay, this is what's important here, and that's just this is an awareness, and it's more of for the viewer to know that these are very important points to have such an entity in the school world, and then afterwards, obviously, university is different. So the objectives are different. In high school, for sure, it's like university. After ninth grade, finish. Ninth grade maximum. After ninth grade, it's done. You have a different world. Okay. Middle school, that should be there. Yeah, you should develop, like we said in elementary also. So elementary by third grade, finish. By third grade, it should be precise and done for the students. Okay. Some schools even they don't accept students if they have certain kind of criteria. I don't know, but obviously this is a different world. In today's world, it's very complicated, so it's different. Every culture, there's no right or wrong here. Every culture in school has its own decisions, has its own rules, has its own. There is no uh, there's no set kind of guidelines really. You go by where you are. Okay. And this is what's important here to know. What's important for the average person is just to know these points, and there should be such an entity that is welcoming, not an entity that is stigma or fearing people or scaring people. Okay, that's what's important, and it's important for the entity and for the culture to leave this autonomous kind of space for the counselor and for the entity, whatever it is. Sometimes it's more than one, right? Sometimes actually it's a big school and they have different levels and it's complicated. It's that. Sometimes no, it's not. It's maybe one. It should not be overloaded. It's not a teacher, a psychologist, social worker, it's a counselor. Okay, and they know what they are. And so in that sense, and also there should be excellent communications between all and smooth. So that's not a factor there, and that's what's important for the parents. They should be aware of different principles and concepts with the world of counseling, so that they're comfortable. Okay, and it's not at all any kind of fear or stigma. It shouldn't be at all. That's how it is. Okay, so because many may believe it's kind of scary, it's not actually. Okay, it's a it's a kind of entity that should be there. Any student should go in the counseling office or should contact the counselor. Maybe and even to the degree that something I'm having an issue with the teacher. It's great. There's no behavior issue. I'm not talking about behavior. Okay, obviously, behavior is part of it in the counseling world. Behavior changes in the student's life. Maybe a balance between the student is excellent in sports, but it's not keeping up with studies, for example. Okay, the student calls up the counselor, comes to counselor. Something, I'm having issues. The teacher is not understanding me. It's not behavior. It's not. The teacher is not understanding me. This should be usual. Um, the teacher is not understanding me. The teacher is having, it's I maybe I have a certain style in art. She's an artist. Okay, I'm an artist. Sixth grade. She's an artist. I'm an artist. I have some style in art. The art teacher wants another style, and I want to take the appointment. I want to see the issue. Maybe we could talk to the teacher or whatever. Great. Okay, that should happen. Now, having too many students and having that kind of, maybe being used, that's a different world here. Okay, that should be done. How big the school is, the culture of the school, and everything else. Okay, that's different. That goes back to autonomous of the counseling and not being stressful on the counselor. Okay, which is important, right? However, it should be like that, and that's great. That's great to that so here my objective is to show that It has to be there in that sense. And it's not stigma, it's not kind of fear, it's not a psychologist, it's not a doctor, it's not a teacher, a principal. It's just for this part of the school where it deals with things that others, the other responsibilities they can't entice or they can't touch upon or they can't kind of relate to because it's not their expertise. It's the expertise of the counseling. And that's what's important. We will talk afterwards about the important points, each one separate, counseling in general, career for high school, university counseling. We will talk about the special education and all its issues there. Hopefully, soon we'll talk about the different therapies used. We'll talk about different things that are really important for this world. Okay, this world is really important. At the same time, you shouldn't be over too much. Keep it simple. Okay, it's a great world, and keep it simple for you to just it's like for example the library. Okay, you're not 24/7 in the library of the school or the university. Okay, it depends. Maybe you want to be a librarian. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're a reader. You're a writer. You like to read. That's different. Okay. Maybe you're on the laptop the whole time. That's great. Okay. So here for the counseling, but here for the counseling, it's for the counselor. In the meantime, you don't have to stress, right? Like the teacher, her class, except for the culture of the school. The culture of the school may be that no, it's the schedule. They change. They have their own office, right? It's the class hour, the class hours or teacher hours or whatever you may call it, meeting hours, and then you have the class itself. The class is for you or for the students. Okay, the students are in the class. That's what's important. Okay, the so others know the counseling office is for the counselor. You have to have a meeting, and it's the meeting hours. Okay, that's what's important here. So this has to autonomous, the autonomous kind of culture of the uh, of the counselor. Okay. Now, the other point for the counseling office, it may be that like the library, the culture of the school makes it a kind of awareness constant for the students and teachers and parents. Maybe you have workshops, maybe you have books, maybe you have a nice place to sit down and just relax, which is really nice. Okay, so these are all strategies for the environment for the school. They have sigma or opposite. They don't know. They're actually pretty excited, but if you're pretty excited, you should know where to go into because it's not scary, but you should know what the counseling office is, okay, and its purposes. It's nice to go relax and get to know about it. However, it's important to know what it is. Maybe it's just because you don't have to always relax there, and there are other people that need to use it. You need to be aware of it, okay? So that's what's important, okay? So that's what's important. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any additional details that you want to add to, maybe you have topics that you feel is important under this big topic. I would love to share it with you guys. Please share with me. Maybe we can talk and have a discussion. Please contact me, and for sure we'll see what to do. Okay. So have a great day, and hopefully soon we will talk about special education counseling in general for school mainly. For career, we'll go into university. We didn't go into that topic more. We did in career in general, but this is really important for us to talk about. Please add your own topics and questions and comments for me to share it in the future and to answer your questions. Please contact me in the contact details I have in the details and also in the YouTube channel. Have a great day. Bye.